Welcome back to Profit Punch. We're going to go through the top 3 stock market brokers for Canadian beginners in 2026. You're going to learn which broker you should choose if you're a beginner, if you're an intermediate, or if you're advanced in your investing journey. Your broker is one of your most important things in the stock market because the broker is what enables you to buy stocks. So every investment is going to go through your broker. And if you pick the wrong broker, you're going to suffer from hidden fees, poorly managed tools, and very few account types. Hidden fees can really eat into your profit margin, and then you can find that you're making less returns than someone who is using another broker, despite the same investment style. But if you choose the right broker, it's going to make things simple for you. It's going to be cheap and it will be effective. I'm going to go through 3 of the top brokers Canadian beginners should use, their account types, commissions and fees, which investment tools, and how they're going to be helpful for you. How supportive are they to beginners? What do we look for in a broker? This is something you should always think of if you're trying to pick between different types of brokers. What are the trading commissions? Because if the trading commission is $10, that means that every time you buy a stock, you're down $20 because you have to buy and then you have to sell. Versus someone who is free, then you're going to be saving $20 on every trade. What are the currency fees? Because the issue with trading in the Canadian market or investing from Canada is that most Canadians are buying USA stocks, and those USA stocks are not traded on the Canadian stock market. That means that you need to transfer your money into US dollars. That transaction fee can really eat into your profit as well. Another one is account types. You need to see if you can have all your finances in one place. Do they have your RRSP from your job? Do they have the FHSA if you're trying to save for a house? Do they have all the different government accounts that help you save on your tax fees? Are these right there so that you can easily switch? And in some brokers, you can then use money from another account to trade in your accounts. You gotta see how is their platform looking like, because if the platform is poor, then your execution for your trades is going to be also very poor and it's going to be difficult. I personally don't use the tools from brokers. I just use a broker for what he is. I use them as a broker. The next thing is, how do you want to be buying your stocks? Because beginners might not know this, but there are different types of orders in the stock market. How do you want to buy your stocks? There is something called a market order. A market order is when you tell the stockbroker, buy me 5 shares of Apple, buy me 10 shares of Apple at whatever price is going right now. That is a market order. You just want to get the shares, you don't care about the price, or you want to sell at whatever price. This is my favorite type of order because it doesn't let other people know that you're ready to sell a stock or anything. Because a limit order, which is the next thing, you have to tell the broker that, okay, I'm only willing to buy at this price, or I'm only willing to sell at this price, which normally gives information to other traders. So another one, which is a limit order, is very important because it can also save you money. It has its disadvantages, but it does save you money. The limit order is when you want to buy a stock at $100, you tell the broker, only buy 10 shares of Apple if the price is not exceeding $100. And also when you're selling, you're going to tell the broker, hey, I want to sell my shares of Apple, but don't sell them if they're below 100. Only sell if it's above 100 so that I can make as much money as possible. So that is the limit order. It protects you from overpaying for a stock or underselling yourself. Then the next one is something called the stop order. A stop order has 2 types. There's something called a stop market order. So it mixes the market order and the limit order. And then there's a stop limit order. I'm going to go through the first one, which is just a normal stop order. A normal stop order is telling the broker that, hey, I want to buy 10 shares of Apple, but only if it hits $100. As soon as it hits $100, get me 10 shares of Apple at whatever price. And also for selling, it's the same. I want to sell 10 shares of Apple. So as soon as Apple falls and then it hits just $100, sell all my 10 shares of Apple. That's a stop order. So now what's a stop limit order? It's just slightly more advanced than a stop order. A stop limit order is when you tell the broker that, hey, I want to buy 10 shares of Apple only if it hits $100, but I don't want to pay above $110. So you put a stop order for $100 and you put a limit for $110. The broker will only buy the stock for you if the price of Apple has first hit $100, then it has to be below $110. That's a stop limit order. The same goes for when you're selling. Then there's something called a bracket order. This is something that I use a lot. A bracket order is when, as soon as you buy the stock at, let me say, $100, you tell the stockbroker that, hey, once this stock reaches $150, automatically sell me out for a profit. And if it hits $90, automatically sell me out for a loss. Because this type of order helps you forget. You don't have to think about your trade every time because the stockbroker already has my instructions so that if I'm making a profit, they will get me my money. But if I'm making a loss, they'll get me out early so that I don't lose a lot of money. Now, the three brokers that we're going to be talking about is Wealthsimple, Questrade, and Interactive Brokers. Now, Wealthsimple is the one for basic, simple investors. They do have market orders, they have a limit order, and they have a stop limit order, but they don't have a bracket order. That means that you always have to manually sell your stock for a profit or a loss, which is actually not good for a lot of investors because when they're losing money, they're not going to be disciplined enough to sell. And when they're making a profit, they might not be disciplined enough to take the profit. Questrade is for intermediate people. So this one has all these four orders, which I use a lot. Then lastly, there is Interactive Brokers, which has over 100 order types, and this is for very advanced people. I'm not going to look into this into detail because if you're quite advanced, then you shouldn't be watching this video. One important thing is FX fees will destroy your returns. This is something that you have to know if you're a Canadian investor or if you're an investor from another country and you're buying US stocks. If you're in Canadian dollars, you have to first switch into US dollars so that you can buy USA stocks. Anyway, how do these brokers catch most Canadian investors unknowingly on this? When you're transferring your money, a lot of them will add a 1.5% fee on all of your money. If you're putting in $100,000, they're going to take 1%. That means you're already 1% down by transferring your money into US dollars. And remember, you have to transfer it back into Canadian dollars if you want to be getting your money from the stock market. So that's 2% down. If the stock market makes around 8%, then you're already at 6%, and this really eats into your profits. The other trick that I found in Questrade, which a lot of people didn't know and I found was eating a lot of my money, is that Questrade will accept your money in Canadian dollars. But when you buy a USA stock, they don't transfer your Canadian dollars into US dollars. What they do is they borrow US dollars for the USA stock. They borrow it at a very high percentage, like 7% per year. And then they use your Canadian dollars as collateral. What happens is that you're paying 7% a year to borrow these USA stocks. It's always better to transfer your money to US dollars first, and then you can start trading USA stocks. If you're trading Canadian stocks, which is a very small minority of people, then you don't have to worry about this. These are the three best brokers for Canadian beginners. Wealthsimple is the best for true beginners. The reason why it's great is that you can trade your stocks for free. If you're buying USA stocks, it has a fee of 1.5%, and it has different Canadian account types like TFSA, RRSP, FHSA, and RESP, which is for education. And it's also very easy to use. It has basic research tools. If you're starting out, this is a great place. I don't use Wealthsimple because it's very simple for me. I like to have something a little bit more complex because I have things like bracket orders. And I think Wealthsimple is meant more for a lot of people who are beginners that are not actively buying and selling stocks. That's why I personally use Questrade. It's a little bit more complicated, but it gives you a wide variety of options in terms of trades, investments. They have all the account types. I do like it. They have very good research tools, and it's not overly complex like the next one we're going to talk about that it confuses you. Then the final one is Interactive Brokers, and this one is for power users if you want to be a really advanced trader. Now, being an advanced trader, I don't mean that you're going to be making more money than a beginner trader. It just means that you need a lot of tools for the types of trades that you're going to be doing. Somebody who is a very simple investor and just buys Apple stock could be making way bigger returns than someone who trades 100 times a day. So just because someone is complicated doesn't mean that they're making more money. I don't like Interactive Brokers because they do have transaction costs. $1 per trade is minimum. But the great thing is that when you're transferring your money between US dollars and Canadian dollars, they have a very flat rate. This saves you money compared to Questrade and Wealthsimple. They do have all the types of accounts except the RESP, which a lot of people don't use, but I think it's an important account. And this is for advanced users. Well, simple, we've talked about it. No commissions, but they have the FX fee. You can see the pros and the cons listed here. Very beginner friendly. It's a great choice for beginners. Then we have Questrade, which I use. It's mostly for self-directed investors. If you want to be a swing trader or you want to be trading a lot of stocks, I would pick Questrade because it has bracket orders. You just have to put in your profit and loss. You forget about the stock and you can come back later. They do have fractional shares too. That is something great, but I don't buy fractional shares. I think it's always better to just buy the full share. They have a lot of account types, which a lot of Canadian people will find useful. But one thing you should watch out for in Questrade is, despite the fact that they're great, their FX fees are very expensive. And for some reason, I feel like they don't try to make this very clear to you. I think maybe this is their bread and butter. Then Interactive Brokers is, if you're very serious and you want something complex, this is it for you. Which one should you choose? If you're brand new and you want to keep it simple, well, simple, clearly in the name. I mainly buy Canadian stocks and ETFs, well, simple. That's for you. If you buy a lot of USA stocks and you hate FX fees, Interactive Brokers is the best, but I think Questrade, you can still get away with it because you can deposit US dollars in there and then you don't have to go through their FX fees, but it's just a little bit of extra work. Just know whenever a company makes something difficult for its users, that means they want to profit from that difficulty. Then if you want access to global markets, Interactive Brokers. One thing that I've found from my experience is that the longer I am on a platform, then I do have switching costs. I don't want to put in the hard work to switch into the next platform. But for something like Wealthsimple to Questrade, I think it can be easy to switch. I hope you found this video valuable. May the markets be with you.